Maybe you've seen this video. It's pretty disturbing, mostly because it's just so inhumane just to walk up behind somebody. And I don't know if this was planned. It seems like it wasn't a random attack. Are some people so far gone that they can just walk up to another human that way and do that? I mean, if we look throughout history, yeah, humans are pretty freaking brutal. The reason I wanted to cover this is because when I see things like this, I talk to Allison, I tell her, you need to carry. You need to not literally leave the house without carrying. You not take walks without carrying. And I think that's just planning for a major tail risk. I think you should do that anyways, because we do live in a world with 8 billion humans. We live in a world where people lose their minds, or they get desperate, or they're straight up become killers. Like whatever happened to this dude that did this in his past, I'm sure it was pretty fucked up, to be honest. And it's tragic. It's also tragic that the people just like search his body. Nobody calls the cops, apparently. Everything about this screams major crack in edifice of society. That's what it screams. And we've been seeing a lot of this civil unrest. We've been seeing populist movement, and we're seeing the cracks in the centralization that has been centralizing for, 50 years now. And we're now moving to a more decentralized way of life. But through that transition, there's going to be a lot of crap like this, and it's probably going to get worse. And if we throw in massive inflation, if we throw in food shortages, if we throw in anything really to accelerate this, it's going to get really squirrely really fast. And so really what I want to highlight is the need to do two things: to arm yourself and always plan for a worst case scenario, because you don't get second chances in these games. You don't get second chances. You don't become situationally aware after somebody shoots you in the back of the head because you learned your lesson. The lesson maybe conveys to somebody else, but not to you. Now, of course, in this guy was not situationally aware. He looked that way. Somebody's walking this way, looked the other way. Of course, the fact that everybody's wearing masks nowadays doesn't really raise any alarms. But, 3 years ago, if somebody was walking towards you on like somewhat of a side back alley street as this is, and they were wearing a mask, you'd be like, whoa, what's going on? So that's one of the unfortunate byproducts of the mask propaganda. Is this kind of crap is like, it's just normal. People wearing masks, normal. And I'm sure it contributes to more crime. You have to be aware of your surroundings. When you're walking somewhere, think about this. If you're outside and you're walking somewhere and you've been looking ahead for more than a few minutes and you have not glanced behind you, how do you know somebody's not literally like this with a knife behind you? Creep up ninja style. How do you know somebody didn't start following you a few minutes ago and trying to gauge whether you're going to be an easy victim or not? Situational awareness. A lot of times, simply looking at potential perpetrators, simply making eye contact with them to let them know that you see them. A lot of times that itself can be a deterrent. You can also move your body. You can do different things to show that you are aware and you are not going to be an easy target, because just like in nature, just like when the lion goes after the baby gazelle or the weak or the maimed or whatever, humans do the same thing. They look for weak targets. They don't want somebody to fight back. They don't want their victims to fight back. They want the easiest target possible. Now, I didn't even play this video. Maybe you've seen this, but I mean, every time I watch it, they cut out the part where it looks like he just walked up to him point blank, pulled a gun, shoots him in the back of the head, and then searches his body. Doesn't go into the car, which I thought was strange, which makes me think this is actually planned. I guess takes his phone, his wallet, and apparently they found this guy in the woods, which is good. I hope this guy rots in jail for the rest of his life. I also empathize with whatever messed up his brain to make him do this or be this. It's freaking sad. And then look at this. So this guy's sitting here. This is also very strange. Did he hit him or did he shoot him? Because this guy's just sitting here and then he walks away. I feel like if it was a gunshot, he would have ran. Maybe he pistol whipped him and he fell and it actually killed him that way. Maybe he didn't intend to kill him. I actually don't think this guy just walked up and shot him in the back of the head. That's what I originally thought. But now that I'm looking at this and this guy just not doing anything, these guys come by. They're looking, okay, let's see. Can we get anything off of him? I'm surprised they didn't look in the car. Maybe they didn't even know it was his car. And they're just like basically robbing him. It's just sad, disgusting all around. We should not be surprised. Humans have been slaughtering humans and other species too, sure, since the dawn of time. It's built into our biology. We are hunter-gatherers. We are designed to kill, to eat meat. And we are also designed to protect our tribe and to be tribalistic and afraid of outsiders, because that was a threat to our tribe. So when we perceive somebody's different than us in any way whatsoever, those killer instincts kick in. We also have a massive, massive well of compassion and sacrifice. And the beauty of the human spirit is amazing. It's what you get. It's the two sides of the coin. That is human nature. Because Mother Nature had to program for certain things. We had to be ruthless, be killers, be hunters, protect our own, fight to the death. And we also had to potentially give our lives for those that we love. Because we have such a massive well of compassion built into our species. And there's a certain humanity to all of us. Even the most ruthless killer, there's a humanity. The duality of it is that we can be killers and we can literally give our lives to protect our own. So this is just a warning to be situationally aware. Always look over your shoulder. Always know what's around you. Always be aware. People can spring on you in a second. Always be on the defense. And get armed. In Texas, you don't even need a permit to carry anymore, which is excellent. Awesome. I think Florida's following suit. I'm not sure. But get your permit either way. Get your license to carry permit. Keep a gun in your car. If you do, I will give you some advice. If you do keep your gun in your car or at home in any way and you have kids, I don't think you should keep one in the chamber. Now, a lot of gun enthusiasts would probably argue with me on that, but I don't think it's worth the risk, because the reality is a gun with one in the chamber where all you have to do is pull the trigger, even if safety's on, you can flip that off, pull the trigger. That is like 1,000 times more likely to be lethal to an accidental death than simply not having one in the chamber. Because if you've ever handled a gun and you have to cock it and put one in the chamber, it's not an easy feat. There's some guns that are so hard. I know females can't even cock certain guns. There's no way like a 1 or 2 year old is going to be able to put one in the chamber. Now, it could happen, right? Like you want to keep them away from these firearms because it could maybe happen. But the firearms I have, it would be almost impossible for one of my sons to cock that. Now, that doesn't mean I'm just leaving guns laying around. We have it locked in a lockbox, of course, and I have it locked in my glove box. But I decided not to keep one in the chamber for the off chance that something happens and they got a hold of it and they're playing with it or whatever. You don't want a gun to which your finger goes into the trigger and it goes off. That is what you don't want. I've thought about this. The risk of accidental death is probably higher than risk of being attacked and having to use lethal force. That's actually a very low probability event. So I don't think it's worth having one in the chamber, because I think the risk of even yourself accidentally shooting yourself, or somebody else shooting it, or somebody grabbing it somewhere and not realizing it and then it going off, or kids getting it, I think that risk far outweighs the risk that you might be slow on the draw and you might have to cock your gun and use it in a life or death situation. So that's just my thoughts on this pretty disturbing video that we should not ignore. We should always be aware of this type of stuff. We should be aware that no matter how safe we think we are and where we live, if we're in a nice neighborhood or gated community or not, criminals can hop fences. Criminals can drive from the bad part of town to go to the good part of town. It's always been bizarre to me that people feel so safe just because there's nice buildings around them. Let's protect our own, protect ourselves, be aware. And let's hopefully also work on creating a better society so that less of this happens. And that's what Bitcoin's going to do. It's going to remove the massive inequality. It's going to remove the hyperinflation. It's going to remove the state being able to print money and create all these market distortions that cause this kind of nonsense. And it's going to bring more freedom, equality, and sovereignty to more humans than anything, literally anything that I've ever seen. It's the most important technology, maybe of the human race. Definitely in my lifetime. Internet for sure. Bitcoin probably equally or even more so, because the implications of it are just so freaking massive. Get the Better Human newsletter. Get your 1 free email every single month. I'm thinking about doing 2 free emails a month. I got paid subscribers on there. It's a super massive value loaded email once a week. I do a shorter email on Monday. So at least get your free email, thebetterhuman.co. At the top, you can hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next one.